a minute. It's not on yet. Good morning, YouTube, Breakfast Club. Good to see everybody this morning, and good morning on Facebook. Good to see you guys this morning. Glad that you are jumping in early on this Thursday morning, April the 10th, 2025. Matthew chapter 20 is our text today. I hope you read through it. Some of you did. I see some of the chat on YouTube. And Matthew chapter 20, we're going to go 1 to 16 today. It's a long passage today, but it's there's a lesson that we need to learn today. The title of the devotion is More Than Fair. More Than Fair. And so, you know, when I was growing up with a twin brother in the house, we would always fight. And our go-to line was, that's not fair, right? We had this innate sense of fairness that we always operated from. And when I felt cheated or when he felt cheated, right? When we felt like one was getting up on the other, we always would come back with, that ain't fair, right? That's not fair. And so as we look at today's devotion, let's examine our own hearts. Let's examine our own attitudes about what we think fairness is, especially as it relates to God, right? So let's, you want to say good morning, honey?
Good morning. He got me up so late this morning.
Yeah, we're running a little bit.
8 minutes to gather myself. And
so some people would say that's not fair to get her up late. Other people would say, wow, what a blessing that she got to sleep a little extra today. Anyway, so it's all in the perspective, is it not? It's all in the perspective. All right, Jim and Donna Walden first in line. Good to see you, Jim and Donna. Jim and Kim Rosario. Good to see you guys. Great seeing you last night. Madalena Ferrari, good morning. Angie Dazzle Brazzle in the house. Good to see you. Lance and Patty, good morning. We got Mama and Papa Deck. Carol Kraken Strachan, good to see you. Dave and Christina Massey, good morning, guys. Vinny and Sherry, good to see you. Dale Petruska, good morning. Papa, Stu, and Joanne, 32 degrees right now. 38 is the high. Man, I don't know how you haven't made trip to Florida yet. Tom and Penny Nungusser, good morning. Stephanie, good morning. Jim and Sharon, good morning. Tom and Joyce, good morning. Kathy Earlybird Stroh in the house. Good to see you. Kay Wilson, good morning. Tell Reed we said hi when he wakes up. Good morning. Paul and Angela, good to see you. Hey, Paulie, good to see you, man. Christy, good to see you. Martha Garrido, good morning. Don and Becky, good morning. Marlon, good to see you. Denise Whitmer, good morning. Scott and Renee Thornton, good morning. Debbie Dobert, good to see you. Samantha Stolfus, good to see you and Robert last night. Eva Stout, good morning. Hugh and Donna McGuire, good morning. Tim, the legendary Tim Deck. Tim Deck, good to see you, man. Rosa Kel, I got to come up with a nickname for Tim anyway. So Rosa and Kelvin in the house. I think maybe let's see a couple more people that jumped in. Ooh, a couple more people. Let's see. Donna Cologne. Good morning, Donna Cologne.
Good morning, Donna.
Patty Graves. Good morning. Mike Raftery. Good morning. Or is it evening? Or what time of the day is it? Good to see you. Tim and Wanda Peeling. Good morning. I'm glad that you're here. Grady and Tinsey. Good morning. Good to see you. And that's it. Who's on Facebook, honey?
All right. So we start off with Cynthia. Good morning. Carolyn Orr. Good morning. Anthony and Amber, good morning. Gail and Scott Howell, good morning. Yeah, they're on here. Good morning. And then we have Gail, good morning. Let's see who else. Paula, good morning. Valerie, good morning. Good morning, sunshine. Doris, good morning. Catherine Robinson, good morning. Giselle, good morning. And then Sleeping Beauty. I was the Sleeping Beauty 10 minutes ago. Scott is the Sleeping Beauty.
Everybody say, even if you're on YouTube, they're on Facebook. Everybody say hi to Scott, okay? Good morning. Scott and Gail. And Gail, I believe Gail when she says it. Gail said they've been watching every morning. They watch on their TV now, which you can't really use the remote to type in or do anything weird. So anyway, that's what the story is. And if Gail said it, I'll believe it. All right. So we got day 23, Thursday, April the 10th, 2025. Matthew chapter 20, verses 1 to 16. It is a longer passage to read, but an important passage. And the title is More Than Fair. In this passage, or in this chapter, the parable of the vineyard, which we're going to read today, then followed up by Jesus predicting his death and resurrection again. How did the disciples miss it? He's been talking about this all through the gospel, and they still missed it, right? But remember, the gospel is written in hindsight, remembering the things that Jesus said. So Matthew fairly points it out. Talks here about greatness of serving others, and then the two blind that are healed. And somebody pointed on there, it reminded of the sermon on Sunday. You're right. But in Matthew's version, in Matthew's recalling, there's two blind men, two blind mice, not just one, right? And so Bartimaeus had another blind guy sitting next to him, but John doesn't call it, Mark doesn't call that out. Matthew lists or records two unnamed blind mice. Okay, so let's read verses 21 through 8, 1 through 7, and then we'll jump off from there.
For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. Now, when he had agreed with the laborers for a denarius a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And he went out about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and said to them, "You also go into the vineyard, and whatever is right I will give you." So they went. Again, he went out about the 6th and the 9th hour and did likewise. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing idle, and said to them, "Why have you been standing here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one hired us." He said to them, "You also go into the vineyard, and whatever is right you will receive."
All right. So we have a keen sense of fairness, of justice, of right and wrong, especially when it comes to our wages, right? And so we recognize there's labor laws that are attached to the culture that we live in because we have a sense of fairness. And if we feel like we're taken advantage of as laborers or workers, then we're going to do something about it, right? We got unions that have unionized to make sure that there's a fairness in the standard of wages and the work that's being done. I mean, this is a part of our culture, right? And so when we read the story like this about first century culture, you know what? It kind of hits us to the core, doesn't it? And so this is an interesting story as we read through it of how life was in the first century. It's kind of cool, not that different than it is today in some regards. But then talking about there's workers that were hired all throughout the day, right? The landowner, right? The owner of the vineyard had a lot of work to do. And so at 6 o'clock in the morning, he shows up, gets his first draft of workers, goes and drops them off. And then 3 hours later at 9 a.m. says, "You know what? We need some more workers." Goes back to the marketplace, grabs another group of workers, brings them back, goes back at 12, goes back at 3. And then at 5 o'clock goes back, right? It goes back. Day's over at 6, right? But that last and final push needs some more workers. This is what's going on. Time is of the urgency, right? Time is urgent. So we need more workers, more laborers for the vineyard, for the harvest that's coming. And so he goes back and gets another group of workers. And then as you see all of this, notice that he promises the first group, he promises them a reward, right? Oh, and a reward for their work, a just compensation for their work. That's a denarius a day. And so in the ones that came at 9, at 12, at 3, and at 5, he didn't promise them anything specific, only to say that I will do justly, I will do rightly. I'm going to be fair with you as these wages come through. Okay. So for the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner. Many of Jesus' parables, this story is about an employer and those who work for him. So Jesus uses this story to answer a question from Matthew chapter 19, verse 27. Yesterday, we read through the book of Matthew, right? The 19th chapter of Matthew. And as we read through the 19th chapter of Matthew, we kind of left it a little bit hanging and dangling on the end. But as you read through the rest of the passage where we left off from yesterday, Jesus continues to explain to them, because Matthew had the question, really, like, well, what's going to happen to us if the rich young ruler can't come into the kingdom of heaven? Then what hope do we have, right? What do we have to look forward to? And so Jesus answers them, and then uses this parable of the vineyard to continue to answer that question. So it all fits together. Remember, the chapters and verses, they weren't added until after the life of Jesus. They weren't added really until about 1,000 years later. And so this chapter goes right with chapter 19. It's a carryover and carry through the conversation Jesus is having. So verse 19, chapter 19, verse 27, therefore, what shall we have? Peter asked. Right? Here are the lessons about God's reward that we must recognize. From this passage, we need to recognize that there's some things about God's reward maybe that are different than our understanding. Okay. Number one, we have to recognize there will be a reward. Come on, somebody, give me a high five, a spiritual high five right there in the thing. There is an award, a reward for those who labor in the vineyard. That's you and I, right? We are the workers of the vineyard. There is a reward. I need a high five. I'm not saying no high five right there. Okay. Y'all are struggling to find the high five. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Okay. Anyway, continue to find that. All right. So, number one, there is a reward, right? Verse 19, chapter 19, verse 28 says there will be a reward. And number two, not only will there be a reward, but that God's reward is not distributed in the same manner as it is by men. So Jesus talks about this standard, right? There's the high fives. Fantastic. Fantastic, right? Well, there is a reward.
The pink ones.
The pink ones. Oh, those are so pretty. Okay.
They're so pretty. I like it.
I want a Michael Jackson high five glove, man. Come on, somebody. Find that for me. Okay. Anyway, so there will be a reward, 1928. God's reward is not distributed in the same manner as it is by men, right? The first shall be last and the last shall be first, 1930, chapter 19 and verse 30. And so it's done a little differently. The distribution is done differently. The first shall be last and the last shall be first. And doesn't Jesus apply that in this parable? It's exactly what goes on in this parable. The last ones that come in will be the first ones given their reward, and the first ones in are the last ones given their reward. And so he's demonstrating visually in a story how this principle plays out. So there is a reward. It's distributed in a different kind of mindset in a different way. What is God up to, right? And the third thing is this parable illustrates that God's standard of reward is different than man's. That his standard, right, the way that he goes about it is different than ours. There is a reward, right? It's distributed differently, and the standard is different. So we got to switch our thinking, right? And what's going to cause us is to ask the question based upon our own morality, our own sense of justice, our own sense of righteousness. We ask, is that fair? Right? And when we almost accuse God and the way that he does things, that ain't fair. And that's what you see happening in the labors of the vineyard. They say, that ain't fair, right? It's not fair the way that God does things. Is that really how we should be coming at God, right? Let me point out, though, it does say early in the morning, right? This is literally at dawn or at 6 a.m. And so let me give you a tip. This is a shout out to the Breakfast Club, right? God is saying, good job, Breakfast Club. Let me get a fist bump from you about the Breakfast Club getting up early in the morning. Amen. Even if you sleep up in a little early. Okay. All right.
Also didn't wake me up.
Huh? Yeah, I know, right. Anyway. So early in the morning, shout out to the Breakfast Club. And then he says, whatever is right, I will give you. Whatever is right, you will receive. And so the landowner promised the earlier workers a day wage, a full day's wage, a denarius. So he wasn't shorting them or anything. They're going to get what God had promised them, or the owner had promised them, right? The other workers hired throughout the day were not promised a specific wage, only whatever was right. Only whatever was right. He would pay them fairly. And so the question becomes, what is right? Okay? That's the question. According to God, what is right? Not according to you and me, what's right? According to God, what is right? That's where we need to come to. That's the understanding from the story that we need. So let's read verses 8 through 16 and see how this ends up.
So when evening had come, and the owner of the vineyard said to his steward, call the laborers and give them their wages, beginning with the last to the first. And when those came who were hired about the 11th hour, they each received a denarius. But when the first came, they supposed that they would receive more. And they likewise received each a denarius. And when they had received it, they complained against the landowner.
What?
These last men have worked only 1 hour, and you made them equal to us who have borne and burden and the heat of the day. But he answered, one of them had said, friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what is yours and go your way. I wish to give to this last man the same as I to you. It is not lawful for me to do what I wish with my own things. Or is your eye evil because I am good?
Evil eye. That's where we get evil eye from.
So the last will be first, and the last or the first last. For many are called, but few are chosen.
There you go. All right, let me see y'all find an emoji for an evil eye. Huh? A side eye, right? We're used to getting that from some people. Y'all ever had somebody give you an evil eye? If they're sitting next to you, don't shout out. Okay, so look at what's going on here, right? The last workers were paid the same as the first workers of the day. So while the first workers complained that they deserved a higher wage because they're the ones that have suffered sweat, blood, and tears, right? For the whole day, they've been out there. Look at the eyeballs. There you go. That's what I'm talking about, right? So they've been out there the whole day. And now that the guys who were out there only an hour, not even an hour, because it took them time to go. Once the landowner found them at the 11th hour, it took them a while to get out to the field, right? They had to go through their training videos, right? Their safety training videos. They had to get to the field, right? So you have travel time involved. And so here they are, not even working an hour, okay? And they're getting paid the same as I am. And I've been out here for 12 hours. That ain't fair. And so let's not give the workers of the vineyard such a hard time, because our sense of right, our sense of fair, right, would say the same thing. We would say the same thing. Okay. They deserve a higher wage. If you're going to give that joker a denarius, then I deserve 12 denarius because I've been here 12 times as long. Don't tell me you wouldn't say the same thing. All right. So the owner here rhetorically answers the question, or questions their evil eye regarding his generosity toward others, their envy, their jealousy, right? Their sense of rightness, or feeling offended because they're right. Okay. After all, he compensated them exactly as he had promised. Now, think about this, right? He said, I'm going to give you a denarius. He did. So why should they be upset? They shouldn't be. But that's what they're upset, because they feel like they have been unjustly treated because of God's generosity towards somebody else. Give me a moment to preach. Come on. So we look at others, right? They were looking at others, how God blessed somebody else. And although God was exactly fair and exactly as he promised toward the first workers, because he blessed the last workers, these guys are getting all bent out of shape. How often, how many times have I been bent out of shape because somebody else is blessed and I feel like I've been given the short end of the stick? But at the end of the day, God has done it with me exactly as he has promised. And I'm giving God a hard time. I'm complaining toward God because somebody else is being blessed unfairly in my mind. Who am I to say that somebody else's blessing is unfair toward me? Man, you see the ridiculousness of this, right? And when you step back and take a look at it, but in the moment, all bets off, man. Look, if we all did the same job, I did it for 12 hours, you did it for 1 hour, and you get the same pay I do. Oh man, that is wrong, Jack. No, it's not, because you got paid exactly what you said you were going to get paid. Man, you see that? Woo! Mercy, mercy. What are we learning here? Come on, man. The difference here we see is between grace and law, right? The difference between grace and law. The system of law is easy to figure out. You get what you deserve. Hello. The system of law, you get what you deserve. You said you're going to give me a denarius, I get a denarius. That's fair, right? But the system of grace, God's way, operates completely different. The system of grace is foreign to us. God deals with us according to who he is, not according to who we are. And so the landowner treated everyone fairly, though some received more generosity than others. We can trust that God is always fair, even if he blesses others who seem less deserving for his own purposes. Doesn't mean he's treating us unfairly, even if he shows generosity, more generosity towards someone else. Now, I got to tell you, our own sense of our sinfulness, selfishness, and pride, we fight and buck against this, right? If my brother was the favorite. Okay, come on, let's be honest, right? Come on, shake your head. Yes, my brother was a favorite. Okay, and so every time that there was a favoritism showed, right, I would be the first one to cry out, "Hey, man, that ain't fair," and he would do the same. He would do the same, right? And so this idea just goes foreign to us. We're used to operating and can understand operating under the law, getting what we deserve, right? But the idea of grace, where grace is given when more generosity toward this person or that person than me, we turn that as an incrimination against the landowner, against the God, because somebody else is getting more favor than us, man. So the key isn't here that everyone receives the same reward. All of God's people enter the same heaven, but with varying rewards. See, instead, God rewards based on grace, leading to unexpected surprises. He is always fair, but can choose to be more fair. He's always fair, but he can choose with his own reward, with his own resources, with his own purpose to show generosity where he wants. That doesn't make it unfair, right? That doesn't make it unfair. God's grace operates righteously. It operates righteously, even though we feel like maybe sometimes that righteousness or that righteously isn't in our favor. Okay? Whew, listen to this, man. Living under grace is sort of a two-edged sword. Under grace, we can't come to God complaining. Don't I deserve better than this? Right? So we come to God complaining. You know what? Don't I deserve better than this? I mean, you can think about, just our situation, right? Don't we deserve better than this, God? We're serving you faithfully. We're doing what we can to please you. All of our lives are gathered around your purposes. God, we deserve better than this. Our son shouldn't be sick. We deserve better than this, right? We should be doing this, or we should be having this, or we should be having this. God, it's just not fair that I got to be doing this. Why do I have to carry this burden? And we come to God complaining sometimes that maybe God isn't fair. Recognizing or failing to recognize the amount of grace in which God is operating in. So we come to God and say, God, this isn't fair. Don't I deserve better than this? Because God will reply, does this mean that you really want me to give you what you deserve? Think about that for a moment. We come to God saying, God, this plight I'm in, the sickness that I'm carrying, this financial burden that I'm carrying, these crazy people that you put in my life, this ain't fair. This isn't fair. And then God can answer back, okay, you really want me to be fair? You really want me to give you what you deserve? And so God treats us more than fair, right? This is where the title of the devotion comes in. We are treated by God more than we deserve. We are blessed by him more than we could ever deserve. We don't deserve any favor from God. We deserve his condemnation. We deserve his judgment. And so let us really inspect our hearts and our attitudes when we're looking at our current situation or the things that we have to go through. And sometimes we cry out to God and start complaining to God that this ain't fair. Well, let's remember very quickly, we don't want God to be fair. We don't want God to be fair, because if God were fair, he'd give us what we deserve. And that's not what I want. And I don't think that's what you want either. Right? So today, as we go about our day, this Jesus-filled day, let us think about when we use that term, that ain't fair, right? Or we think that in our spirits and our hearts, let's remember God is more than fair. God has blessed us beyond anything that we deserve, far beyond, exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever ask or imagine. That's who God is. And so as we experience life and look at the blessings maybe that some others have, or what God is doing, you know what? Let's remember. God's more than fair. He's more than fair, right? Don't I deserve better than this? You really want me to give you what you deserve? No, God, I do not want you to give me what I deserve. Thank you for being fair, more than fair. Father, I thank you today. We do thank you for the love that you have for us. Lord, I pray that this devotion would hit us in the heart. Lord, that we would have a greater sense of appreciation for how fair you have been, how grace-filled you have been with us. Lord, our heart of appreciation and praise for you will be impacted as we really consider and understand that you are more than fair. And that your love for us, your grace, your mercy that you've extended to us overwhelms us in your goodness. Lord, help us to be able to give this message today to the people that we live with, the people that we work with, the people that we get to interact with today. Lord, help us to act with a heart of kindness, a heart of appreciation, a heart of praise. Even when other people seem to have a blessing more than ours, Lord, help us to be happy. Help us to celebrate rather than respond with that evil eye. And sometimes some of us are really good at that evil eye. Lord, help us with that today. We love you, King Jesus. And it's in your name I pray. Amen. All right. You want to say anything on the way out, honey?
So prayer request today, Janet has an infection and she's not feeling well. And Sammy's also, Sammy is her.
Sammy?
Yeah, he's on antibiotics as well, and they are not feeling
Hi,
well. So we'll be
Sammy.
praying for them.
Okay.
Also Linda Buckles, and her test results, and
Mata,
Lance. Yes.
Zach, Debbie Elgin's
Yes.
stepson. I mean,
Yep.
we're praying. Keep that prayer list going. Keep it going. And so we will look forward to seeing you tomorrow, day 24, in Matthew chapter 21. And remember today, God is more than fair. You don't want what you deserve. You want to say, thank you, Lord, for your amazing grace that gives me blessings beyond compare,
Yes.
and mercy that stays, that pushes off what I do deserve. We love you, King Jesus.
Amen.
All right. God bless you guys. We will see you soon.